A14 Bionic, the fastest chip ever in a smartphone.
11.8 billion transistors,
50%
in any
faster.
smartphone.
Increased image quality is even better.
And
For
compared to the
advanced
competition, it's the fastest GPU in any smartphone.
You watching this right now probably use an iPhone. But are iPhones actually the fastest phones? And is it worth switching to Android, being that one green bubble in your text conversation? Well, to start, you have to define fast. For me, and for most people, that just means how quickly you can complete daily tasks, opening apps, loading web pages, and even just swiping on your home screen. And on iPhones, all of this is powered by Apple's own homemade chips. They call them A chips. And this is a huge advantage. See, the problem with Android phones is that every phone from every company is so different, yet they all use the same chips. Typically, the latest offering from Qualcomm's Snapdragon chips. But even if on paper they may seem more powerful, the problem with phone chips on Android is that they aren't optimized for each phone. Take the all-new Snapdragon 865, an 865 Plus chip released in July. While it is a very fast chip, it already runs on 37 different phones at the time of making this video. That's 37 different display sizes, different camera systems, and different batteries. All that single chip has to be ready for. So what that means is that the chip inside of them is generic and is not optimized for each individual phone. So as great as the chipset may be, it can only be so powerful when it's just thrown into a ton of very different phones and attempts to perform at its best. Meanwhile, Apple's now year-old A13 chip was designed with exactly 3 phones in mind. That means that Apple could design the chip solely to be optimized for those 3 phones and only those phones. So its performance is greatly enhanced. It's a chip designed for iPhones, while Qualcomm and other Android chip manufacturers just make a fast chip, but it's not really designed for any phones. So it's just stuck in the phone hoping to perform. But that isn't the only thing that could hold Android phones back. There's also software. Because Apple makes so few phones, their software is optimized for each phone to work without any issues. If an issue comes out on one of Apple's phones, Apple can quickly push out a software update to fix it. And even individual app manufacturers notice this too. Apps like Snapchat and Instagram can optimize their camera features to work great with each iPhone, but they have to have just one stock camera software for all types of Android phones, making Android photo processing on basically any app always look like garbage. So as far as Apple's homemade chips and software optimization, Apple takes the win. But what about the other things that make phones fast? Like response time. How quickly after I touch something on a screen does it actually register? Well, at this point, we're talking about micro adjustments. The difference between 0.1 to 0.2 seconds to load an app. But trust me, you notice. Think about how many times you touch your phone every day. Every button you click, every letter that you type. If the response time is slow, you're going to feel it. And for those of you who are techie, you've probably heard about this. This is called refresh rate. But what does this even mean? Well, hertz refers to frequency, and it's the way we measure the refresh rate. Think about it like a video. When you're watching a video, it's made up of tons of still photos. Most videos, like this one, are shot at 24 frames per second, which is the bare minimum you can shoot at to make things look smooth. But some people prefer to shoot at 60 frames per second, which is nice if you want to make things look ultra smooth, but not if you want to make things look realistic. Others can shoot at 120 frames per second or higher, which is great for slowing down your footage. On your phone, in the slow-mo mode, it shoots at 240 frames per second, and then slows down your video tenfold. But in order to view these frames and see this content, your display has to refresh in time to see each individual frame. And this is where your refresh rate comes in. Hertz refers to the frequency at which your screen refreshes. So viewing this video on a screen with a refresh rate of 1 looks like this. It's not very smooth. Here it is at 2 hertz, and now 5 hertz. Here's 15 hertz, and now we'll show you full speed, with the video playing at 24 frames per second, with the screen refreshing at 60 hertz. But unlike video, that you don't typically need to watch at higher than 60 hertz, a screen's animations look much smoother at a higher refresh rate, like 90 hertz, 120 hertz, or even 144 hertz, like we see on some of the best gaming monitors. And sure, seeing the apps move by smoother on your home screen is nice, but where this really comes in is in touch response. how quickly after you touch a display does it register. That's how fast it will feel. Remember, even if the chip running the phone is ready to show you something, if the screen hasn't refreshed in time, then it won't feel as fast as it could. And this is where the iPhones used to falter. Most, even the budget Android phones, have had 90 to 120 Hz refresh rate displays for years, while iPhones still don't have this. But what they do have is a 120 Hz touch response, which refers to the number of times the display can register a person's touch per second. Meaning, while the display itself doesn't actually move at a 120 Hz refresh rate, it senses your touch 120 times per second, so it's able to react just as fast. So yeah, I guess you could say Apple kind of cheated their way into a 120 Hz display. And there is something to be said about a real 120 Hz refresh rate. It just feels super smooth, smoother than Apple's touch response. But as far as practicality, if you were just timing how quickly you could touch things on a display, the iPhone is technically just as responsive of a display as a 120 Hz Android phone. And with a powerful chip to back it up, the speed should feel just as fast or faster than any other phone. And plus, Apple's 120 Hz touch response display, instead of the full 120 Hz refresh rate, saves a ton on battery, which may be worth it in the end, and probably why that feature will probably stick around at least until the next generation before Apple fully switches over. But really, does any of this even matter? At this point, phones have gotten so fast, it's worth asking if we even need anything better. Even the cheapest of Android phones are still hundreds of times faster than the phones of the past, and speed updates each year, while in the past monumental, can only now be described as incremental. So at this point, if you want my advice, I would pick a phone over other factors, like the phone's camera, display size, and battery life, over its supposed speed. Because no matter what price you pay, you'll probably be satisfied. Which brings us to the iPhone 12. We were pretty much right on everything. It did run the A14 Bionic, and they did in fact claim that it was going to be the fastest phone in the world. And once again, they did not include that 120 Hz refresh rate and stuck with the 120 Hz touch response rate. So yeah, another year of no 120 Hz displays, but that shouldn't be a problem because as we talked about, the 120 Hz touch response rate is technically speaking just as fast. But as far as whether you should buy one of these phones, well, the speed is definitely not going to be an issue. No matter what new iPhone you buy, they're all going to run the A14, they're all going to have that 120 Hz touch response rate, and they're all going to feel just as fast. So if you're looking for the fastest phone in the world, and that's what you want, any of the new iPhone 12 models will do the trick. But if you want my initial reactions, I'll sum it up real quick. Honestly, this feels like a somewhat small upgrade. Yes, we got 5G. Yes, we got the new-ish design. But if there's one thing I know for sure, it's that you should never buy a tech product based on the promise of future updates. And I feel like the iPhone 12 series kind of relies on this a little bit. For one, you've got the flagship feature of 5G. And yes, sure, Verizon came on stage and said 5G is everywhere. But let's be real here. 5G coverage is not everywhere. And unless you live in a big city, you probably won't have it for a while. Another one is LiDAR. In the event, they said that LiDAR scanning was going to be the future of AR, but they didn't give a ton of specifics. And you're paying more if you're getting that 12 Pro model to get that LiDAR scanner that at the moment you definitely don't need. And so I hope that we see some sort of update and the LiDAR scanners have these new functionalities, but in the meantime, they don't do much for anyone. So honestly, if you want my initial reactions, I don't think anyone really needs the Pro at this time. If you're looking to get a new iPhone, get the 12. The only reason I would say to get the Pro is if you want better cameras, because kind of the only thing that the 12 Pro really edges out the 12 on. But if there's one thing I know for sure, is that guys, that is pretty much it for this video. Don't forget to ring my like button and subscribe to my bell, because I will see you next time. I gotta go put all this equipment away, and let me know in the comment section down below if you liked these new setups. And I will see you next week.